basically we need to apply these 5 fundamentals to select the right property to give the maximum profit, and you could then use that for your next upgrade. All right, so this is very important. If you don't follow this on your first upgrade step, more often than not, you will end up at a stagnating property. Topic number 1 here, we talk about the pathway to the Holy Grail and choosing your destiny or the pathway to the Holy Grail. There's many paths, but many average Singaporean who basically have a pink IC, right, usually will try their luck with a BTO HDB flat, and that's how it looks like. And once you got that BTO, you strike it, usually we will upgrade to a condominium. But some people take longer time, some people make a decision, the way I buy this on the 5th year mark, I'm going to upgrade. So these are the people that save time. All right, so we've emphasized so much previously on all my previous class on the shelf life of the property. Right now we talk about the shelf life of the property investor. All right, so today that's more or less today's main focus. And then we move on to a landed. If you can basically have a cash proceeds, or if not, savings of up to $1 million, and that's where you can move to a landed property. Because we talk about a landed property in today's context, you don't have $1 million, you can't enter into one. I'll share with you more later on what I mean by that. Okay. And with that, a landed, you add on a condo. And with that landed and condo, we then add on to that Holy Grail pathway, which is that landed, condo, and a property buying in trust. All right. So some investors out there, they go one more step. What is it? That means that condo and a trust property exited to own another landed, which I've seen before as well. Okay. So in this instance, we talk about people who can't have that proceeds of $1 million, because usually for people who sell their condo and still able to have $1 million in a short period of time to buy a landed, more often than not, they are business owner. They are not really that, executive or if not managerial position is working in a certain organization. So you don't have that so-called savings to save you up that way. All right. So for people who are probably under that second category that I just mentioned, not the $1 million one, this is how we do it. We basically go into another property. That means we decouple and acquire one more before we go upwards to own that landed property. All right. So how has that changed over the years in terms of buyers making this habitual move to own that landed? I'll share with you how does the process look like, given different government policies implemented since 2013 as well. So we talk about the first upgrade from a HDB to a condo. We always talk about applying the urban transformation fundamentals. And for many of you who have not probably attended, or you need a quick recap of the Urban Transformation Fundamentals Masterclass, you could scan this QR code, and basically this is a pre-recorded so-called masterclass. You could actually view it at your own pace and time when you're free. All right. But then again, for people who have known, basically we need to apply these 5 fundamentals to select the right property to give the maximum profit, and you could then use that for your next upgrade. All right, so this is very important. If you don't follow this on your first upgrade step, more often than not, you will end up at a stagnating property. If you're buying something that's beyond 15 years, not near a reputable primary school, and not having the exit in mind. All right, and that will probably stop your next pathway to the acquiring the next property. So we didn't talk about that, going directly to the landed, and just how I mentioned, you need at least $1 million. Why so? Because today, inter-terrace, in today's context, it is at least $3 million. Okay, so we are talking about places like even Ang Mo Kio and even Upper Serangoon areas. They are all at least $3 million. So why I share that you need $1 million? Because when you do that, you talk about purchasing a $3 million property, you will do a reverse calculation. A deposit works out to be $750,000 just on the down payment. All right, and that's excluding stamp duties of $75,000 and legal fees of around $3,500 for a purchase value of $3 million. Okay, and with that is also excluding any form of renovation. Okay, so this is if you buy a place that is for immediate occupation without any need for reno. But in today's context, $3 million for inter-terrace, you still need to do quite a lot. All right. And then we need a minimum monthly income of 19K and with no additional liabilities, that means no car loan, business loan, etc. Okay, to be eligible for 75% loan size of 3 million. And then also monthly repayment, we are talking about installment at about $8,000. But as a financial prudence point of view, I always share with all my investors out there, we need to have at least 3 times that money installment. Okay, so we are looking at 3 times, which means you need to have at least 24,000 in household income before you put yourself through a 8,000 repayment installment. Okay, so next, we talk about that multi-property purchase. Instead of going directly to the lender, how does it look like? We'll go down to 2 condos before going up to the lender, which is, again, you talk about the executive worker. How are they going to do that? They go by this route, because by way of savings, you can never outbid property inflation or appreciation, correct? So with that, we then talk about why people choose this route, because it's a shorter investment horizon, especially when you're buying a building under construction property. That's where it says BUC. Okay, so first is a shorter investment horizon. And why shorter investment horizon? Because when you buy a building under construction, more often than not, your entry is as of equal footing as the first launch, the first few buyers that buy in during the launch period as well. Or even if you are buying slightly later, the disparity is not too far off as well. All right. And the next thing we look at also your monthly output in terms of monthly repayment of your installments. These are also being dispersed progressively. It means the amount is actually a lot more lesser, and more often than not, your first 2 years, 2.5 years monthly installment can be easily covered by your CPF contribution. Okay, so this is where people feel like, oh, okay, you know, when I pay my monthly repayment, anyway, I'm using my ordinary account contribution to finance it. Only at the 3rd year mark where it's TOP, that's where we top up cash, but at the same time, we have a rental income coming in already. All right, so once you plan this move correctly, that's where we are able to go up to that landed property by exiting these 2 to own 1 again. All right. So with that, we then go into a lender and a condo, and that's where that lender has appreciated over time, because to be frank, or to be honest, landed property actually appreciate almost double quick time than a condo, all right, than a BUC property. Okay, so with that, we can actually acquire that by that level. Okay, I know that this is very, very conceptual that I'm trying to share with you right now. In the next few slides, I'll be sharing with you the exact numbers, how it's going to look like when we move from one step to another. Okay, because many people have the impression that, you know, landed property is only for the rich, the business owner, but that's not the case. Okay, only because nobody really knows the exact blueprint or step to decide to get your way there. And of course, we are always running against time of what? Getting old. Okay, once we are older, basically we are having much more so-called liabilities. At the same time, we are also unable to borrow as much from the bank. So this is a so-called journey that many people don't consider, but over here I just want to share with you, because I deal with so many investors out there. Right now, you will know how is it going to apply for you. Okay, so chapter number 2, we talk about the strategy in structuring, and this is where it becomes heavy. Okay, so when we talk about strategy, we talk about like how we're going to own it by way of first thing first, the first purchase. Just now you saw the roadmap of BTO, right? So BTO by nature is joint tenancy. So what it means is you by nature will need to own it by way of family nucleus, and it has to be a 50-50 share between husband and wife, or if not, depending whether you're buying with your parents or not. Okay, with that, we also look at the joint tenancy as well, which is 50-50 yet again. All right, but if it's not, we talk about either by way of executive condominium purchase, or you've got a private condo purchase, which is your first route of choice. We then see how could we structure that manner of holding, that means your shareholding, to position you for your acquiring of your next property. When we talk about that, acquiring one more. Okay, so over here we talk about, should you do a direct upgrade or add on that additional property? What is the decision tree or consideration here? So the first thing we talk about, based on the Urban Transformation Masterclass, I did share that the shelf life of a property is 15 years. 15 years from where? TOP or MOP. So if your property currently right now is basically more than these 15 years, you should consider selling, and that will bring you to purchase the next property. So we exchange 1 for 1. All right, so we then would recommend you to go for a direct upgrade. But if it's less, then we'll ask you whether your property falls under the Urban Transformation Zone, which is that 5 key fundamentals masterclass, right? So if it's not, how does it look like? We will also asking you to consider selling, because the property may not be likely appreciating at its optimum value. Okay, and even if it's under urban transformation, my next question here is, can both parties, that means if you're buying with your wife or husband, are both able to acquire mortgage, eligible for mortgage? Because only if you can, we will then be able to decouple and then own one more property. we need both parties to be still employed or at least have some form of financial documentation like NOA, etc., to take on the next property loan. Unless you have a flush of cash, like some of the buyers or investors out there who are very, very lucky. I call them the lucky sperm club, where they actually have, that level of having a property passed down to them. Okay, so if not, then we talk about these both owners are being able to basically finance the property. All right, and both are working. So if it's yes, we can keep and decouple and acquire the next one. All right, so this is the condition for acquiring one more and not overstretching yourself, because we wouldn't want you to hold on to something that is already stagnating and then you buy one more that is going to grow, but that one that you're stagnating, it's not really growing at all, and that would actually jeopardize that roadmap to own that landed, because we need both to be growing in order to own that landed as your next move or subsequent move.